All right, so I guess let's start with intros. We want to talk about how we're building seamless stablecoin integrations, which is obviously just a catchphrase. What we really want to talk about is what's really working right now in stablecoins with these three amazing people here, and what's not working in stablecoins. We're also going to touch that. If you guys want to give an intro, but don't make it brief, because you guys have been through a lot in life. Not to say you're old, as I am, but to say that you're very experienced. So, Mark, if you want to start.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. I have been at Visa forever, since like 2001. And I started by building some of the back office dispute systems. It was all still manual. When a cardinal dispute happened, you had to fax your paperwork to the banks. And so we built disputes and then all the fraud detection and the tokenization, the chip technology. Then went to Europe and led open banking. And so we acquired a company called Tink, and then came back a couple years ago and led consumer products. And just recently, now I'm heading up commercial and money movement. So all the cross-border payouts and things that really this industry is going to use heavily in terms of stablecoins and that technology. So super happy to be here, though.
Amazing. And again, Mark, I don't know if you missed it. Mark has been at Visa since 2001. Some of the people in this conference were not born, right? So he knows his shit. And then
he's richer than most crypto people.
He's richer than most crypto people because he was there before Visa actually became public.
That's true.
Right? It was just like the Flintstones were doing the ching, right? Yeah. Anyway, all right, Shiraz, there's actually a connecting line between you and Mark, because Mark was working, pretty much invented with the team, obviously, but tokenizing cards over there at Visa and Apple Pay and everything. And you used to work Google Pay as well, and you used to work at Google. So tell us a bit about yourself, Shiraz.
Sure, yeah. Actually, before Google, I was at American Express, and we were just sharing stories about that. So started in the world of network payments, was there till 2007 and 8, and then went to Google. And they were working on, I worked on many failed payments products at Google, starting with Google Checkout. That failed. We launched Google Wallet. That also failed and became Google Pay. So I have a lot of war stories. But yeah, I mean, the Google Wallet was like, it was, this is very unlike crypto, where it was like tech, forward without really thinking about the use case and the customer experience, not like crypto at all. But it was, it was definitely like ahead of its time. It was the first NFC tap and pay solution, but before there were any NFC terminals out there. So again, like not really thinking through the customer experience. But that was a fun experience at Google. And then, I kind of got bored of payments for a while. I got sick of it and said I would never work in payments again because it sucks. And then I met Anatoly.
And then they paid you more?
Yeah.
No. Where'd you
go?
No,
I met Anatoly, the founder, the founder of Solana, and I got excited again because he's like, we're building this fast, new, performant blockchain. We think payments is going to be an important use case. So that's how I wound up in this crazy space.
Nice. And Ben, you're now leading, I think, pretty much the only non-USD stablecoin that I think really matters at this point in time. Maybe you want to talk about that?
Sure. I'm the head of stablecoins at Bitso and its subsidiary Juno, which is the issuer arm of Bitso. Bitso is Mexico's top crypto exchange, and LATAM, we like to think LATAM's biggest digital assets company. But we're the issuer of MXNB, a Mexican peso stablecoin, as well as partners in BRL1, which was mentioned earlier, which is delightful in the opening keynote, which is a Brazilian real stablecoin. So you can think of me as the GM of that business, but my background is kind of similar to these guys, an arc through the wild world of TradFi into crypto. Early in my career, I was a derivatives trader in Chicago, an options trader, and catch me at the after hours, and I'll tell some interesting stories about what it's like working alongside like pit traders in Chicago. I have some kind of interesting war stories that are not appropriate for on stage for that to share.
Yeah, there's no media here, by the way. If you want to talk about midget throwing, we can do that.
Media, no rules, yeah.
Okay, we cannot. I'm sorry, I was just told we cannot. Okay, go ahead.
Moved into tech and fintech, issued Visa cards, was in payments, and had a short stint at Kraken, and here I am somehow becoming the issuer of LATAM stablecoins. It's a wild world we live in.
Quick, non-related question. So what is crazier, the pen at Chicago trading floor or crypto conferences in APAC?
That's a good question. It depends what time of day.
Okay. Fair.
When the floor immediately closes, the bar at Ceres Cafe at the Board of Trade in Chicago is a wild, debaucherous place more than any crypto conference.
Okay.
But Singapore, like at night maybe? I don't know.
Has its own craziness.
Its own crazy.
I agree. Shiraz, you said something that was actually interesting. Again, not related question. We'll get to the panel questions in a second. Doesn't matter. But you said that Google was trying a lot of things at payments and they all failed, and then Google Pay actually succeeded.
That's when
right?
I left.
So is it because, sorry?
Because I left.
Because you left.
Yeah.
Oh, you left before it was launched. I was going to ask why, but now. Okay.
Yeah.
No, but like, we're trying a lot of things in payments. Obviously, we're now on a roll, but can you say maybe a little bit about what made the difference there?
Well, so when Google Wallet launched in 2011, it was NFC tap and pay. But as I said, there were no terminals that had NFC capabilities. Even the phones themselves, very few phones had NFC chips in them. The issuers, card issuers, didn't really have a way of tokenizing the assets and putting them on the phone. So we were like, oh, we're going to just build and invent all this stuff and work with the issuers and TSMs and networks and all this sort of stuff. So it was one of those things where it was engineers that were so excited about something, and they were like, we're going to build this and then people will use it. So I think
it was a technology looking for a problem.
Exactly.
I've heard that somewhere in our space.
Well, so in crypto payments, it's similar. Like there was, and maybe I didn't really learn, but one of the first things I did when I started at Solana was like, let's build Solana Pay for merchant payments. It's kind of the only thing I really knew then, but I was like, it meant to be a proof of concept, but everybody was suddenly like, oh, merchants are going to accept stablecoins, and I was like, it's a little early, but maybe now.
But what's interesting about that is because I was there during that whole experimentation, and the difference between like an Apple and Google is you guys really were engineering led and like just kind of worked it on your own, whereas Apple took a little bit more of an industry approach and said, let's bring the networks together, let's bring the issuers together, and let's deploy this, and that kind of worked. That really helped jumpstart it.
Yeah, he's basically saying Apple's better. I don't know, that's what I heard.
They had a better implementation.
All right, let's get into the panel questions. But I agree with you, Mark. Okay, Mark, you're now at basically the helm at Visa after looking at stablecoins and money movement. After Visa has been doing obviously a lot in this space over the last 9 years, but we're still waiting for that moment, if it will happen. I guess it's only up to you, no pressure, that Visa will actually do something that is touching the entire network maybe, or like the same way that Visa today has obviously a huge grasp. I guess you can comment on that if you want, but I'll ask you also, are all these new blockchains coming now to life? Is that confusing to Visa? Is that, are you guys thinking about this, oh, now we need to support like 100? Are you picking winners? How do you guys look at that?
Yeah, let's start with that piece. I see so many parallels between just how traditional payments work today, because if you think about domestic markets, there are hundreds of local ways to pay. And so if you're a merchant, you have to figure out, well, which payment methods do I want to support? It's very similar to like if there's 100 different chains out there, maybe there's 4 that are local, but maybe there's a couple that are more global and cross-border. And so we can see something similar happening, which it makes it complicated for enablers in this space. Because if you're a payment service provider, you then have to decide, am I going to integrate to all, let's say there's 100 chains. Do I have to integrate to all 100 of these? Or do I do a couple of these and pick a third party to do the rest? And so that is the complexity, is figuring out which ones to do. But I think from a merchant level, you will probably only have a handful of them that you have to worry about. But the question will be, there'll be the domestic chains, because they'll also just be regulated, right? There'll be countries that just say, you're using this chain, you're using this coin, and that's it. And so the question will be, what happens really with the cross-border? Is there a little bit more of a standardization that happens on cross-border chains that more of the global merchants could use? Right?
And Shiraz, I'm sure you love more chains coming online as Solana. Do you think they have any value, or like you told me offline, it's all shit? Like, what is it in your view?
I'll tell you online that it's all shit too.
Yeah, no, but okay, but what's your view on these new chains? Like,
I think it sucks, to be honest.
Okay, great.
So look, I mean, I love our friends at Stripe
Yes.
and Bridge. It's not their fault they got acquired. But this whole tempo thing, like, to me, it felt like it was done, the whole optics of it was in bad faith. Because the messaging is, well, we need a payments chain because the chains out there aren't good enough for X, Y, and Z. But that's not true. So like they're like, well, we need fast finality. Well, we have like 400 millisecond moving down to 150 second finality. I mean, Patrick Olson had tweeted something. It was this big long thing, and he said some chains like Base and Solana get up to 1,000 TPS.
Yes.
And I don't know if you follow me on Twitter, but I never tweet. I hate tweeting. And this
You're too old.
riled me up to tweet. And I brought up the fact that during the whole like Orange coin, the Trump coin, Melania coin launch, Solana was hitting 100,000 TPS at times a million. And the beauty of the way the Solana blockchain is built is that it localizes congestion. So there's congestion for people that were trying to access that, but if you wanted to make a regular payments transaction, there should be no congestion. Now, there were issues on the client implementations. So for example, Coinbase was showing 20-minute Solana transactions because they had not configured their system.
Yeah.
But the blockchain itself is built. It's built for, it has this thing called localized fee markets.
I love that, by the way. You guys should listen. If you haven't learned about that on Solana, they have this thing called localized fee markets, which...
Well, exactly. So in the case of the Melania Trump meme coin, the fees for that, accessing that state in the blockchain spiked up, but the fees for doing a simple payment transaction still were extremely low. So essentially...
And all the gas fee, that all goes to charity, to the Trump Foundation,
all goes to charity, right? No, it solves world hunger first.
Okay, perfect.
Then it goes to the Trump coffers.
And can I push you on one thing before I want to spend something? But before that, I want to push you on one thing. What do you think about this concept that, okay, there's other chains, but how about you guys work together to at least create, I don't know, a payments protocol, something that's easier for us? You're a leader in the space, you're us.
Well, no, I mean, it's something that may be under discussion. So okay. I think...
Luisa from Suisse here. Luisa, if you want to start a foundation, you can come on stage. Okay.
Well, and so this is, again, this is not meant to be like it should be Solana or nothing. There are a lot of truly like decentralized blockchains out there. I wasn't excited about let's call it a corporate chain, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe there's a goal to be decentralized and this and that, but then if that's the plan, why not go to the existing chains that are out there, right? That solve a lot of these problems. I do think there's a need for standards, cross-chain standards. So that's why I was saying whether it's Fireblocks payment network or some of these other attempts to try and create some sort of like abstraction layer and a set of standards. So it was when you kind of picked on me in the crowd earlier, I made this example of the genesis of Visa and Mastercard, right? When a merchant would have to have like slips for like 15 different issuing banks, right? Mm-hmm. And we're sort of at that moment now where the creation of Visa and Mastercard sort of create a simple abstracted this away, and I think we need stuff, and I think that will be interesting, whether it's you guys or others.
Ben, do you think this is a pain that there are more chains coming for MXNB and for BRL1, or is that, because you guys will have to integrate into that, you'll have to work with that, foundation. Of course, they'll give you, $50 billion in incentives, but after that, you still need to do that. You still need to monitor that.
It's a little bit of a pain. I mean, look, we're deploying on layer 0, and that makes it very easy.
Right.
But like that's the technical side. The strategic side, the messaging side, makes it a little complicated. I mean, I agree that there's obviously a proliferation of chains. I think some of the premise of like we looked around at all the chains out there, and they're not measuring up. Well, like, with what? Okay, speed, cheap. Like fast and cheap is table stakes for any chain. So I think you can go around and find that anywhere. There's a proliferation of chains now that are stablecoin chains. And so I've tried to spend time digging into, well, what makes a stablecoin chain? Like, what are the real features? And there's like, the stablecoin can be used as a native gas token. You don't need a separate token. I think that's actually a very interesting feature on a chain. But then otherwise, it's like fee certainty, which you just alluded to, like that exists on other chains. Embedded compliance, like that exists on other chains. Privacy, Solana is doing some things around that. So you can find it on a lot of chains. And so, yeah, it's just like overload. At the end of the day, if it's as simple as opening up a route on layer 0 and you negotiate with the foundation, you get some incentives, potentially it makes it relatively easy. But the thing that from an issuer's perspective, that I struggle with, there's a chicken and egg thing. If I put myself in the shoes of the foundation, people are coming to us and saying, deploy here. And I get it, you need the assets on your chain to kind of like get utility, but we're not the users of the chain. Like, we can deploy on the chain, but we're not the one actually using it to move the token. So I'd actually rather have the chain first find the huge multinational that says, I want to move my treasury, have my treasury operations run on your chain, and I need a peso stablecoin. I think that's the right order of events, but often I think right now it's, I'm a new chain, let me go find assets. And I'm not sure that that's the right angle.
So I think, look, I mean, the problem I recognize with some of these is that if every corporate now issues a chain, and again, I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, or every institution, whatever, they imagine that volume will go there at some point because of some use case. And the reality is that in payments, and I don't know if you guys agree, the usage comes from the grassroots. It's not because corporate A or corporate B decided, hey, we want all of you now to use this or that. You gave a good example, Shiraz, during the presidential meme coin period, where there were all these great meme coins, and Solana traffic was spiking. Obviously, we had, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think all in all, there were like 8 million new wallets, right? And then what happened, this was like actually a magic moment in the space, after several hours, people realized what they've done. And they're like, oh shit, I need to sell this token. And obviously they had to off-ramp from whatever that meme coin was most of them off-ramp to USDC. And suddenly, and we were tracking these wallets, suddenly you had, out of the 8 million that were created, net new, you had actually 6 million wallets who were active 2 weeks after, and 4 million wallets active 2 months after. Right, so you had 4 million new users who now started to use, whatever that's Phantom or MetaMask or whatever, different flavors, but they could use USDC now on Solana, and I think that caused a big spike, by the way, in USDC on Solana.
I think it
doubled USDC on Solana,
yeah.
Right? And I think, to the point where these corporates are now issuing more and more stable coins, but will the users actually adopt them? That brings me to the next question, I guess, which is, what are still these bottlenecks? Because you mentioned the bottleneck of tech that happened, like Coinbase had a 20-minute processing time for Solana transactions. By the way, Fireblocks didn't, so, But they had that issue. What's the other bottlenecks we're having right now? I mean, when Visa's starting to get into this, is it the tech? Is it FX? Is it security?
I would say it's just everything, because everything is just new. And so you need new compliance rules and risk frameworks, and you need new software to kind of manage this. And so it's just the combination of everything new hitting every single department. And there often isn't a central architect for a company that says, here's how all of the pieces are going to fit together. And so it's like every organization is trying to figure this out on their own, and they'll make some progress, but then they stop because they don't know all the answers. And so you see this all over the place. And so what would really be helpful is like having truly a leadership team that can bridge all of those organizations within a company to help bring that project together. But otherwise, it's just everything's new.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think everything is new, and everything is frightening to at least the new entrants who are coming in.
And they also are already doing their day job. So they're trying to do this on this kind of a side of desk.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm already busy. You have me working on this special project, and I have like 1% of my time.
No, but this is why people are now, I guess, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there's more like blockchain-related or digital asset-related roles being posted right now than I think ever before, which is also, by the way, a topping sign. So I don't know if you're holding Bitcoin. Think about that. But Shiraz or Ben, like, what are you seeing right now in your day-to-day? What are you getting stuck at? Is it liquidity? Is it tech? Is it security? Is it compliance? Where are you still stuck?
Well, I'll just say one thing that actually these guys are going to help solve is some of the remittance apps on Solana, like Sling specifically, right?
Sling Money.
Sling Money.
We don't mention that. That doesn't run on Fireblocks.
Oh, okay.
Somewhere else.
Well, let's just
Yellow card.
We'll call it Ping Money.
Ping Money.
Okay?
Great.
Yeah, made up name.
Okay.
They built a remittance, a P2P global Venmo. It's all based on US dollar stablecoins, but now they're starting to push us to be like, hey, we need local currency stablecoins. So I think now we're getting to this moment where it's becoming so ubiquitous that it's going beyond US dollars. So for example, MXNB, BRL, like those are starting, like we need more local stablecoins issued on Solana that have good liquidity. And
yeah, when we talk about like bottlenecks what? But in our core everyday business, in particular, the issuance of local stablecoins, MXNB and BRL1, it's not tech. It's not, maybe you could say it's liquidity, but like that's not the core. The core is, it's not even the will. It's like, it's just the snowball effect. We just need more. There's a process that is like at the very first inning right now of companies onboarding and starting to use local stablecoins or figure out how they're going to use stablecoins, and we just need that process to play out. That's frankly the bottleneck. We're all talking about it a lot. It came up earlier in the earlier panel a lot. Like it's a topic, and there's a lot of companies onboarding to provide liquidity in local stablecoin pairs with the notion of on-chain FX. But for the big, huge use case, I love like listening to Nick from Zodia Markets talk about the use cases and the oil tankers and stuff like that, and big agricultural shipments. Like there's a natural use case for local stablecoins in that world, and it kind of just needs to happen. But the thesis that we have is like all these companies are just now getting comfortable with dollar stablecoins. Everybody's tripping over themselves to what's our stablecoin strategy. I mean, like non-native crypto, non-crypto native companies, they're tripping over themselves. What that really means, what's our stablecoin strategy is, how do we first start with dollar stablecoins and fit them into our processes? Once they get that comfortable, those are the same companies that are going to start to, whoa, we have a multinational company and a business all over the world. We need to start to expand, and we just need that process to play out, and that demand comes in more than just the initial conversations. We think this is a 3 to 5 year like wave. We think it's a 3 to 5 year process. We need to be patient and let it play out.
Do you think that this 3 to 5 years, do you think that all these companies that recently got invested by VCs because they said stablecoin sandwich 3 times and are now doing like cross-border payments, on and off ramps, do you think they will survive, or will the banks adopting this tech will kill all of them one by one miserably?
I personally think...
Sorry if you're one of them.
There will be consolidation, and I agree wholeheartedly. When Bridge got acquired, it was still... Think about every VC that had a heavy fintech portfolio was looking at massive write-downs still from the big 2022, 2023 process. And all of a sudden, Bridge gets acquired for $1 billion by Stripe. And I think VCs perked up and were like, that's something we can invest in. Like, this is a hot space. And so you're right, money flowed in, and there's a lot of like Bridge-like companies. We're the regional Bridge. We're the Bridge for this. That are doing variants of the same thing. A lot of them are sitting on top of Bitso infrastructure when they're coming into LATAM. And I hate to say it, we try to talk to them about like ways to iterate their business and use local stablecoins. They're so fixated. They're in like a knife fight on BIPs because that's that world. And the traditional stablecoin sandwich where it's just fiat into a dollar stablecoin for money movement, like it's just cutthroat, and 2 bips might mean you win or lose the business. And so they're just so focused on liquidity in that world that they don't really have the bandwidth to focus on much else. And there's a lot of them. So I think there will be some consolidation.
Mark, you were, a lot of the time in your career you spent on, again, at Visa, at things that are in a way related to the user experience, right? And we've spent some time together. Obviously, you've made yourself very knowledgeable about this space right now, and now leading this is Visa. But there was a question that all of us used to ask ourselves, like, how should the UX look like? Will it ever be solved? Obviously, we've failed miserably at solving it for the last decade. Should we just wait another decade for the technology to evolve and then it will get solved by other, more retail-related companies? Or should Visa start putting in some standards like you did with other things and help us solve this?
I do think we will need standards eventually. You're starting to see, though, some hybrid examples because we will have stablecoin-backed debit cards, which is just, so your account funding source is your stablecoin wallet, but you can use that at any Visa accepting merchant in the world, 140 million merchants. So you can use your tap to pay technology in a wallet and get access to your stablecoin. So you'll start to see some people or some actors in the payment network use it, but in that scenario, the merchant maybe won't even know. And in some scenarios, maybe the issuer will be using stablecoins for settlement, or the merchant's using stablecoin for settlement. But either party won't even know that this is happening. So I think the way it evolves is all three parties, the consumer, the issuer, the merchant, and sometimes the network, will be doing some aspects of it using stablecoins. And then over time, multiple partners will start to use it at the same time. But that will start to refine the UX.
Is it becoming at Visa something that is now, at the top level? I mean, obviously Visa was doing a lot of crypto as part of like some innovation hubs internally. Has it changed over the last year, which is why you're here, I guess? Yeah,
and I think our CEO, Ryan McInerney, has been talking about this a bit at our other earnings calls. Like, it is certainly top of mind for us. Because we won, not only is it just the coin technology itself, but just like real-time settlement. Like, people don't really want to wait 2 or 3 days to get paid. And so you can use this technology for merchants to get real-time settlement. And so there's so many ways in which this can be deployed, even on existing card-based business. So.
And Shiraz, you were also at the user experience, different roles in your life. Are we getting there? Have we made any progress? You also have Solana Pay. Is that?
I think so. I mean, I think compared to several years ago, the wallet technologies that use like OAuth sort of experiences, Google sign-on, MPC, I think a lot of that stuff is actually abstracted away. So again, not to bring up our ping money remittance app, you don't even realize you're using a crypto product, right? Just send money instantly globally. So I think the tech is there to solve the UX problems. Right now, I think the experience for for the developers that are trying to build with all the complexity of chains and issuers and all that, that's where there needs to be a layer of abstraction as well, I think.
Let's take a quick pause from my questions because I don't like the rest of them. That doesn't make sense. Let's try to do some audience questions. Can I get a mic? All right, who do we have here? You can, if you want, you can raise your hand. If you don't, I'll just pick on you. I'm already spotting my first victim. Thank you. So, Pele, you're from Nota Bene, and you've been helping a lot of the folks in the audience and companies all over to comply with travel rule. Do you have anything to ask these esteemed colleagues over there?
Yeah, I mean, we're happily working with Bitso, for example, up here. But I think there's a lot of interesting conversations up here, and I really like what you said before about this movement towards more and more stablecoin, as opposed to just a stablecoin sandwich story. I think this
Untaken.
This is, I think, what's exciting, right? Stablecoin sandwich is kind of, if people are old enough like me to remember Vonage, which was the voice over IP system where you literally got a physical phone that you put connected to your Wi-Fi. And I think the stablecoin sandwich is basically that, right? And for us, travel rule, essentially, we're building the payment messaging layer to be able to enable all of these applications.
You have to ask a question.
Yeah, I have to ask a question. Okay. Visa, When are you guys joining Nota Bene?
Oh, okay. I love it. Shameless promotion. You get a round of applause for that. That's good. Visa, what do you think about travel rule?
No, Nota Bene. I mean, we are open to all sorts of third parties. Like, we love it. I mean, honestly, I think we've been like investigating you, haven't we? Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
We're doing some trials.
Boris Reznikov, I'm not going to put you to ask a question because your cousin Yelena was already on stage, but someone here lifted their hand. There you go. Ben. Yeah, nice. Wait, sorry. Oh, sorry. Oh, Ben from HT Digital.
Yeah. Hi, guys. Quick question just for I guess, the speed of payment, which is always a topic, right? Stablecoins are great because they're instant. Especially for Visa card, though, isn't the real advantage the credit, so the delayed payment that I only pay by end of months? And how many users do you actually have asking for instant settlement versus longer credit so that they can pay later rather than earlier?
Yeah, I think, was that a question for me? I think in general, the largest merchants are absolutely saying, like, how can we get paid faster? Which is like a new topic. It used to be like the small creators or the small businesses which had real funds management issues and they wanted money quickly. But you see even the largest merchants now saying to us, hey, on the non-banking hours, can we use stablecoins on the weekends so we can get paid every hour? And so I think that's the conversation that's different today than it was a couple years ago. So this need for sort of this concept of real-time money makes sense. So why would we have to wait 2 or 3 days for batch if we can get real-time? I think that's just like a trend that's just going to continue for forever, right?
I have a question about that, though.
Yeah.
It
just goes on without me. Go ahead, ask him the question.
Oh, sorry. Is there someone on the other side that stands to lose from it? So if somebody is getting paid 2 days late, that means somebody is getting 2 days of float. And are they going to push back on that?
Yeah, there will be. I think that like some of the legacy banks, acquirers, right?
Yeah.
Probably the acquirers are one. I don't know, are there acquirers in the room? I think they could be more challenged. Like if a merchant decides to say, I'll use my existing acquirers for the normal banking hours, but I'll go direct on chain for off banking hours, then the acquirer is a little bit out of the road in some of those flows, right? Yeah. Someone will pay.
Boris, I changed my mind. There you go. So Boris Reznikov here, by the way, is from Stellar. Stellar is actually one of the best chains to run payments. I'm sorry, Shiraz, that's Solana as well. But you guys have been working with MoneyGram for a long time. You've been doing cross-border payments, aid payments for the UN. What do you want to ask Shiraz? Why is he there and not working for you? Or ask whatever you want.
Well, thank you, Goldie.
Sure.
Shiraz, let's work together. I think it's a big world out there, lots we can do, and same goes for Visa and for Bitso actually as well.
Yeah, but other than that, do you have a question?
Oh, a question. Mark, when are we going to see billions of dollars being settled in stablecoins on Visa? I know you've started already.
Yep.
What's it going to take to see significant volume?
Is it 26? Is it 27?
So if you were to ask me, I mean, historically, sometimes this technology takes a decade. We all know tap-to-pay technology now. That took us 10 years to perfect to a point where you could use it at a subway terminal. It was fast enough. And so if you think about like what we do, we process in 13 milliseconds a transaction, 65,000 per second. And so for it to really get to that type of scale, you do need to make sure that it's working. It's like has this resiliency and everything, so you can actually do these transactions at scale. And in the end, like we're a scale business, and so we can't implement anything beyond pilots if it doesn't get to that level of sophistication. But it will happen. I think it will take longer than most people want. But that is historically how long things take. Think of tokenization with like mobile wallets. We're 10 years into Apple Pay and Google Pay. There are still countries that don't have it yet. It's just how the world works. It takes a while for things to really get deployed.
Ben, when will we get to billions in MXN, do you think? The market's there, right? What's the US
When
MX?
Visa accepts it as a settlement currency.
Yeah, okay. Everyone's trying to push a product to Visa today. Anyone else who wants to sell something to Visa? No, but I mean, the volume is already there, right?
The volumes are growing, but when on-chain FX becomes, I know that's a broad term, but when that grows and that becomes sort of widely used, when it starts to take over, it was discussed earlier. I thought the panel earlier was great and discussed a lot of great topics around that and around like the spot FX market is the biggest notional market in the world. Like, you know, and I think Luca was great in saying, like, we can't, maybe you believe we're going to be in a world where dollars just take over and like everybody just uses the dollar, but like he was saying, like Brazilians live their life in reais. I like to say Mexicans live their life in pesos. And so the economies are not going to be fully dollarized. Therefore, their fiat currencies are going to exist. Therefore, if we're going to have on-chain FX, you need to have on-chain local stablecoins. And to me, that's probably the biggest driver.
Anyone wants to ask a question before I ask Eric? I let Eric ask it. Okay, I'll get to you a second. Eric Witham used to be a top executive at WorldPay, gave up his status with Delta Airlines and others to start a startup in cross-border payments. Eric, what do you want to ask?
What's up, guys? Good to see you. I think there's obviously been a lot of edge use cases that have gotten a lot of traction in B2B. But as we're out actually having conversations with CFOs and treasurers around the world, who are these people you describe as kind of non-crypto native, are being told by their leadership, do something. There seems to be a lot of apprehension, obviously, to do anything because the space has been, you know, somewhat toxic for a number of years, right? That's changing at a global or a macro level. What do you think, though, will be kind of the tipping point or kind of the big aha moment where we see, you know, large Fortune 1000 companies who don't have, you know, crypto and Web3 teams actually jumping in? Like, what is the thing that kind of moves the world to, you know, these large companies holding 10% of their capital in stables and starting to actually use, you know, payments modality and other capabilities on a global scale?
Thank you, Eric.
I have a thought, which is that one of the things that Goldie didn't pay me to say this, but that networks that are on top of the payment network, that are kind of like the Fireblocks network, that sort of function as like an authorization network. There are others that are building for similar things. There's Ubix, if you guys are familiar with Ubix, which is not exactly the same thing, but they're in the same sort of vein of what they're trying to do, which is that, great, the rails are there, they can move fast. I think with a lot of these big corporates and the toxic or the concerns, that's like, hey, are we going to hold billions of dollars in a wallet that can get hacked? And I don't think they're going to be, maybe if it's a Fireblocks wallet, they won't get hacked, they'll hold it. But but for the movement piece, I think a lot of them are there. Like, how do we move our treasury around and then get out of it, you know? But it's not just the fact that, oh, there's a blockchain and it can move a token from point A to point B or wallet A to wallet B. For a lot of it, there's like, think about the acceptance or the authorization layer on Visa. Like, there's a bunch of metadata that goes along with it. Before the movement can happen, there's obviously the KYBing, but then there's an invoicing potentially. Hey, request the money, and this is all happening programmatically, and you need to have the right metadata attached onto it. And that's what a lot of these projects are trying to do and build on top. And I think that's been missed, that's actually a key piece to get some of these huge companies comfortable with using this technology.
Shiraz, you've been working with those companies. Do you agree? Is it that? Is it more incentives from Solana? What would bring them on?
I think there's maybe there's a little bit of a sheep mentality. So I think when Stripe acquired Bridge, that seemed to create a lot of FOMO and a lot of like, uh-oh, they're doing it, so we better do it. And so then that sort of gets the ball rolling. So I think it's just like, once one or two big institutions start doing it, then it sort of gives the green light for others to do it, because if they get in trouble, they're like, well, Stripe did it, so.
Speaking about big institutions doing it, we got someone from American Express here who wanted to ask a question. Yes. Oh, can you open the mic? Yeah.
Hello. Okay, there we go. All right, so I think privacy is one of the most interesting challenges when it comes to stable coins. There's multiple solutions. Each different chain seems to be approaching it from a different angle. But when I think of, privacy, all these privacy solutions break when you go cross-chain, right? So when we think of stablecoin adoption, if you guys had to pick one challenge that would unlock more adoption, what would it be? Would it be solving for interoperability across different chains where everyone is picking different solutions, or is it focusing on privacy on one single chain? I guess, yeah, how do you guys see that challenge, conflict?
Thank you, Jaime.
Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I mean, I know we've talked a lot about confidential transfers on Solana, and I promise you that it is going
confidential.
to be here by the end. Yeah, it's confidential. I think by the end of the year it'll be ready. It actually came out and it got pulled back because there were some additional protocol enhancements they wanted to make. But I think if I got your question right, I think if we do a good job of rolling this out and people can adopt it, then there might be less reason to move across chain, because if you know that you've got a good privacy or confidentiality solution on one chain where you can manage your whole payments use case, then maybe there's less of a need to go and bridge across different, different issuers, or sorry, different chains. So we have a technical solution for it, and we just need to kind of work with the ecosystem to adopt it.
I'll translate. Privacy is the next challenge. That's what we at least think in Fireblocks. And privacy is not just a confidential amount that you'll move. It's also how do you keep the identity? How do you create the identity? It's all related, I think, to helping this ecosystem in a way be more compatible to what the financial ecosystem knows how to work within today, within the parameters today. It doesn't mean make it antique again. It means, yes, use this new technology, but let's use new technology to create better identities so we could do better AML, so we could do better travel rules, so we could do better KYC even, so we could actually create an ecosystem that works and people are not afraid to get a transactions all of a sudden from someone they don't know, right? So I think it very much relates to privacy. We are at the end of the time. So I would ask all of you if you could briefly say, if you could sell one product to Visa, what would it be? No, I'm kidding. If you could say quickly, I guess a year from now, are we with more stable coins than what we already have, or less stable coins?
I'm going with more.
You're going to go with more?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you going to issue a stable coin? Who knows? Okay.
More.
You're going to more stable coins. Are you going to issue a stable coin?
We're not. There'll be stablecoins issued on the Solana network.
Okay, I've seen networks issue stablecoins as well.
Oh, really?
Ben, more, less?
For sure, more. We see an opportunity to issue more in LATAM, and we hope to be leading the charge on that. So we'll do it ourselves.
I guess I'll ask it differently. Do you think there'll ever be a year where there'll be less than what we have now?
I think in 5 years, I think once this arc happens, there'll be some sort of consolidation, but I don't know, not for the foreseeable future.
Well, we all know the next 3 years are great if you're doing something in the space. The next administration might put everyone back to jail, so we'll see. So thank you for the amazing panelists, Mark, Shiraz, Ben. Thank you so much. Give them a huge round of applause. Thank you, folks. Thank you, Mark.